Good morning. This is your 10 a.m. daily weather briefing. Continuing with the mostly cloudy conditions out there this morning, have seen some additional breaks in the clouds and no longer tracking anything impactful on the local radar as the showers have pulled out of the area after the rain activity moved through during the overnight and early morning hours this morning. For the rest of the day, expecting just some slightly breezy conditions, should stay below wind advisory criteria. Otherwise, right now, seeing those temperatures climbing into the mid 50s and expecting our highs in the mid to upper 50s as we move through the day today. If we look at the current surface analysis, that area of low pressure that developed to our south, slowly tracking away from the coastline, and with that, the shower activity is going with it. We'll slowly see clouds start to break as we move through the day today, and that high pressure centered well off to the west is going to slowly build into the area as we go over the next 48 hours. Between that and the low pressure, we will see pressure gradient tighten up slightly, particularly as we get into the daytime tomorrow, where we'll see some breezy conditions. But overall, dry conditions back in the forecast for the next few days. If we look at the upper level winds from this morning, sounding had some northeasterly winds near the surface, becoming more northerly, then eventually becoming more westerly to west southwesterly to southerly as we get up in the levels above 16,000 feet. Our peak wind today is 30 knots at 25,000 feet. The freezing level is at 6,600 feet. If we look at our current visible satellite, we could see a bit less in the way of cloud cover over the local area, as we could see more breaks in that cloud cover, but still quite a bit of clouds around. And again, expecting that to stick around mainly through the morning and first part of the afternoon, and we'll gradually continue to see decreasing clouds as we move into the evening time frame, likely becoming partly cloudy to mostly clear by the time we get into the evening. If we take a look at the high resolution model here for the next 48 hours, we'll see a similar story. As we go through the day, we start to see breaks in the clouds and decreasing clouds. No precipitation expected, as all of the shower activity tracking away from the area with that area of low pressure. And then moving into the evening time frame, we're looking at mostly clear skies with just some bay streamers with a slight breeze continuing over the waterways. And that will be what we start the day off with on tomorrow, as we will see increase in some of the winds as we move into our Saturday. Looking at some fairly breezy conditions moving through the day Saturday. Good chance of seeing wind advisory criteria during the daytime hours, particularly early on in the daytime hours, and then most likely holding on through much of the day before we'll start to see winds relaxing as we go into the evening time here. But as you can see, no precipitation expected as we continue or transition into a drier weather pattern with high pressure centering over the area. Again, mostly clear Saturday evening into Sunday, and then as we go through the day Sunday, just going to see some partly cloudy conditions with mainly some high clouds around the area. If we zoom out here, looking at the GFS model, we see that broad area of high pressure kind of dominating over the eastern part of the country, keeping things fairly quiet and dry as we move through the remainder of the weekend. That continues as we move into next week. We'll see here on Monday an upper level trough tracks well north of the local area, and that's going to stay out of the local area, but it will bring a weak boundary through the area for Monday. Maybe some additional cloud cover, slight shift in the winds, or maybe slightly breezy conditions, but right now not expecting any precipitation with that. Looks to be a dry passage, and we'll see a continuation of dry conditions as we move towards the middle of next week. Getting into the middle of next week, we start to see an area of low pressure developing and tracking into the Great Lakes region. That's going to be supported by an upper level trough that's making its way into the middle and eastern part of the country as we move into the middle and later part of the week. As you can see here, it's going to actually bring some warm boundary up over the area as we move into the day on Wednesday. Other models, like the European model, indicating a chance of a few showers with that during the daytime hours on Wednesday, and better agreement with the modeling that we'll see a better chance of precipitation as we move later in the day Wednesday and into the overnight here. As you can see, GFS indicating a lot of the precipitation holding off to that evening time as we start to really get a deep diving trough moving into the region, possibly closing off an upper level low to support this, and that tracks eastward. Still some uncertainty with this, some slight variations in the modeling, but it does look like we'll see some disturbed weather possibly moving into the area Wednesday evening and maybe lingering into the first part of Thursday, and possibly another model indicating some rain making its way lingering around through the day on Thursday. So as we had this upper level low kind of lingering over the area getting into the later portion of the week, no doubt we could see some lingering rain chances in the local area. But we'll see how that plays out as we get closer to the event and get better handling on that with the modeling. If we look at the 24-hour weather risk chart for today, we have dissipated that yellow risk for precip this morning, looking at green conditions through working hours today as we have seen that rain move out of the area. Overall, just mostly cloudy conditions through much of the day. We'll see winds generally out of the north to northwest, 8 to 13 knots, gusting up to 20 knots at its peak. As we move through working hours today, we'll see our high temperature around 57 degrees. And again, decreasing clouds as we get later in the day, likely seeing partly cloudy conditions by the time we get into the later afternoon. And we'll start to see that breeze become a bit less gusty as we move into the evening time frame, and some slight breeze continuing. And despite the mostly clear skies, we'll see mainly a low dropping off to around 45 degrees. It's still slightly above average for this time of year. And then getting into the start of the day on Saturday, we'll start to see northwesterly winds picking up a bit, 9 to 14 knots, gusting up to 22 knots. So we do pick up that yellow risk for winds at or above 25 knots. Seeing our tides a half a foot to a foot above normal today, and looking at the weekend forecast, mostly sunny and breezy with a high of 61 on Saturday. So looking at a mild day, but overall we will have that orange risk for winds at or above 25 knots. So a good chance to see a wind advisory criteria for our day on Saturday, particularly early on. Then things calm down as we go into Saturday evening with a mostly clear evening with a slight breeze, low of 40 degrees, fairly average for this time of year, and then another fairly mild day with a high of 62 for Sunday with just partly cloudy conditions and green conditions for our weather risk. Looking at the extended forecast here, again, Monday, that weak dry boundary passes through the area, giving us some slightly breezy conditions and partly cloudy, some additional clouds around, but overall we'll see our high around 67 degrees ahead of that front. A slight cool off, but not much in the way of cold air convection as we move into Tuesday, still seeing a high around 63 degrees. And then moving into Wednesday and Thursday, that's when we see a bit of uncertainty, but models honing in on that next disturbance moving into the area. So we're looking at some additional cloud cover around the area for Wednesday and Thursday. We'll see increased chance of some precipitation as we move into the PM time frame on Wednesday, possibly lingering into the AM time frame on Thursday. Looking at about 30% chance at this time, likely seeing those chances increase if we continue to see agreement on that system with the modeling. But seeing those temperatures continue in the low to mid 60s through that time frame as well. That's going to wrap up the 10 a.m. daily weather briefing. We'll be back again on Monday at 8:15 and 10 a.m. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your weekend.